Hey guys, it's your girl T, and I'm here for another recap of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. A lot of folks have been asking me what's going on with Love and Hip Hop New York, why I haven't done any recaps. The reason why I haven't done any recaps is because Mona Scott is tripping. She has not aired Love and Hip Hop New York for the past 2 weeks. I don't know what's going on. We'll just have to see if it ends up airing this Monday. But now back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So the show starts with all the women on the bus. They're heading down to Savannah. And out of nowhere, Phaedra decides to just pull out her boob and start milking it because her breasts were full. And of course, I was staring because like I told y'all, staring at boobs makes you healthy, per that report that I did a video on a few days ago. So me along with all my subscribers were staring dead at her breasts. And I felt healthier 10 minutes later. So in the next scene, they're all on the bus talking, and Portia basically brings up the fact that she feels like if you don't sleep with your husband every day, that gives him an excuse to go out and cheat on you, and that you have to keep a man satisfied in the bedroom. And so, of course, this starts an argument, and Kenya's like, you should be a lot more than just your thighs. You should be a lot more than just sex. For a man to cheat on you, that's his issue. That's not your issue. You shouldn't be forced to sleep with a man every day just so he won't cheat on you. And of course, Kenya knows that from experience that, the worth is not in your cooch, it's in your ass. Hence why she keeps inflating her ass bigger and bigger every season. So Monique is on there, but for whatever reason, Monique's hood booger mama put a Y in her name. And her mother is white, which I just find comical. That her name is Monique, but it's spelled with a M-Y instead of a M-O. So Monique starts talking about, she agrees that, you should sleep with your husband a lot. And then Nene comes out and says, she has sex on her mind, but not like that. And basically misses the fact that she gives Greg some when she feels like giving Greg some. Not when Greg needs it or wants it. Which I just felt was too much information. I don't want to picture Nene or Greg having sex. And after that, Portia starts crying once again. This woman is just irritating as hell. She's crying because people feel like, Monique and her husband's situation is okay, and that doesn't make Monique submissive. But then when Portia was talking about how, she had to ask Cordell permission to do certain things, that the Real Housewives clowned her and they didn't support her, but yet and still they're supporting Monique. It's like, bitch, how old are you? You're a grown woman. Why are you crying over something as petty as this? Portia just irritates the hell out of me. So basically, everybody just kind of looked at her and was like, girl, bye, and moved on to the next scene. So in the next scene, they pull up to the house, and the house is supposedly haunted. And the woman is trying to explain everything to the ladies. And this poor white woman is sitting there trying to explain to the women about, all the hauntings that are going on in this house in Savannah. And I'm trying to tell her, like, you ain't got to worry about the ghosts. You got the real hood boogers of Atlanta in your house right now. Ghosts at least are your concern, ma'am, because all these women do is fight and argue. So Portia ends up getting stuck in the basement, and she feels like, she feels some type of way about that. She feels like she doesn't want to get stuck down there because, of course, all the ghosts live in the basement, as if ghosts can't travel throughout the house. They're just confined to the basement in her ditzy brain. So if that's not bad enough, Candy runs her ass upstairs, and she ends up getting the master bedroom. And folks start going in on Candy on Twitter. Folks start dragging her because, one, Candy was 4 hours late to the event, and Candy didn't plan the trip. So for Candy to think that she was obligated to get the room was just kind of crazy. And Nene was kind of upset, but it seemed like, Kenya was really busy instigating that situation. Because at first Nene was like, okay, it is what it is. But then Kenya kept hyping it up. And then that's when Nene said something to Candy. But Candy, being the selfish person that she chose to be on this trip, refused to give up the room. And then Candy tried to address the issue on the internet and go off on everybody talking about it was vacation and she didn't know that Nene wanted it that bad. But at the end of the day, if the roles were reversed and Nene did that to Candy, Candy would have went off. And I just find it funny that Candy can pop off on everyone on the show but her mama. So moving on to the next scene. So in the next one, you have crazy Kenya hiding under the bed and hiding under sheets and popping out of shit. She's popping out of bed sheets like burnt toast. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with Kenya? Why is she acting like she's 4 and not 40? She's going out her way to try and scare everybody because, of course, this house is haunted. And she's not doing a good job of it because whenever she jumps out and she says boo, everybody just looks at her like, child, get your life. So in the next scene, Nene decides to have a small little meeting with all the girls, but Phaedra was upstairs pumping, her breast milk. And Nene was just basically telling the girls that we need to be on time, we need to respect people's time, we need to respect people in general. So Candy's sitting there rolling her eyes, she has kind of an attitude. So Phaedra comes walking into the scene, and Phaedra's like, what did I miss, what's going on? And Monique is like, you need to hear this more than anybody because you're consistently late. And Phaedra goes off on her like, you know what, you don't know me like that. And Monique is like, well, I'm just joking. She's like, but I don't know you from a can of paint. You can't joke with me like that because you don't know my situation. You don't know why I'm late. So Phaedra puts Monique in her spot right off the bat, and I love Phaedra for that because Monique was really feeling herself for no damn reason. So the next day, Monique realizes that she's the only housewife without lashes and that she doesn't look as glamorous as the other housewives. Well, you know what, Monique? Here goes some breaking news for you. You're not a real housewife. You're Nene's friend and you're visiting. We don't give two shits what your eyelashes look like. We don't give two shits if you have a beat face. We don't care. We're not interested in you. We're interested in the original cast members. It's like this woman is just doing the most. So Cynthia starts to teach Monique some hood booger lingo. She's trying to teach Monique about reading people and shade and all these little slang words that we use on the internet. Monique is literally confused, and then Nene says that Monique is biracial. She was raised around white folks and her mama's white. And Monique acts like an Oreo. She's basically a chocolate-covered, cookie, whatever the hell Nene said. And I just find that kind of funny, and I don't believe that Monique is as proper and prim as she's trying to make herself out to be. Because like I said, first of all, how many white folks name their kids Monique, but spell it with the M-Y? Only hood booger white girls do some mess like that. So I don't believe that Monique is in hood. I don't believe that Monique is so prim and proper and she was only raised around white folks. Monique definitely got some hood in her because Nene is hood as hell, no matter how eloquent she calls herself trying to act. And birds of a feather will definitely flock together. So in the next scene, all the girls that are left in the house, Cynthia, Kenya, Monique, and Nene, they're basically talking shit about Candy, how she ran up the steps. And Nene was like, Candy ain't never ran a day in her life. All of a sudden she wanted to run up the steps and go get the master bedroom. And what was so funny is that after Nene said that, Bravo cuts to a clip of Candy running through the park. Her and Fader see some type of hearse and it has a bunch of people in it. And it's a guy named Pegleg Joe. He's driving folks around Savannah in a hearse to teach them about all the Savannah ghost stories. So I caught that shade. I said, Bravo thinks they slick. Nene talking about Candy ain't never ran a day in her life, and then all of a sudden Candy decides to just start running for the first time in her life. Bravo, we see you with all that extra shade. I was dying when they cut to that clip with Candy running. So in the next scene, this is the most controversial scene of the night. Nene decides to basically have all the girls go to this historic black church that's in Savannah. And this church was one of the main bases for the Underground Railroad. Portia's talking all this stuff about her grandfather, Hosea Williams, and how he was a great, man in the civil rights movement, how he did so much for the black community. Then she proceeds to say, how did they get a train underneath the church? Who drove the train and where did the people get off at? And literally, it's just crickets. Everybody's looking at her like Hosea Williams has to be rolling around in his grave. Did the grandfather of a great civil rights leader just say some stupid shit that she thought the Underground Railroad was a real train? I went in on her ass on Twitter. She's one of them chicks who thinks that it's okay and that it's cute to be a ditzy bird. It is not okay, nor is it cute. This is what happens when a mother raises her child to be more concerned with her looks and her body as opposed to what's up here. Her and her mom are so concerned about looks and makeup and $7,000 shoes, but yet the granddaughter of Hosea Williams was not taught that the Underground Railroad is not a real train. I mean, this is a disgrace, so I'm assuming that she must have thought that Harriet Tubman was one of the best train conductors in American history. And I don't know if she's really trying to be ditzy or she's trying to play it out for the cameras. A lot of folks are comparing her to Jessica Simpson. A lot of the damn white blogs went in on her. Now, it's one thing to get chicken of the sea and tuna fish mixed up. I could see that, even though that was a ditzy comment that Jessica Simpson made on her show. But it's another thing to just totally disrespect the civil rights movement. I just thought that whole situation with her in the church was just a straight disgrace. And then she was talking about how she was marching with her grandfather and how folks were throwing rocks at her when she was 6 years old. And I'm like, when you were 6, you were born in the 80s. When she was 6, that was like 88, 87. Who was throwing rocks at you? This wasn't the 1960s. And I'm not saying that rocks weren't being thrown. I'm not saying they weren't like, crazy, marches that went on in the 80s. But it's just something about her that just doesn't sit well with me. It seems like everything about her is just a fake lie and a fake facade. Now I really understand why Cordell left her. Because I don't know any man who can stand to be with somebody this ditzy. All she is just a beautiful shell. She's a beautiful person as far as her looks and her body. But what's up here is ugly as hell. Because she's only concerned about materialistic shit. She's only concerned about her image. And I think everything she did in that church was not only insult to her father, but to all those who came before her to get her to be on TV. If it wasn't for all these civil rights people and Harriet Tubman and those who fought and died to be on the Underground Railroad, Portia would not be on national television. So in the next scene, Monique decides to steal some camera time, and she calls herself trying to confront Candy about her relationship with her husband. And she tells Candy, and I heard that you and my husband dated, I heard that you and Chuck were together, and just was like a little quick fling. And Candy's looking at her like, no bitch, we were in a relationship. That was my man. We were together for years. He took me shopping, he bought me bags. Mama Joyce loved him. And Monique is basically shocked because she's thinking that Kandi was just a jump off, just a fling, because that's how her husband presented Kandi to her. And then as they're talking, they find out that Phaedra was also with him as well. She dated him when she was younger, and she also was screwing him in college. So I just felt like Monique is stupid as hell. First of all, you don't ever get around your husband's exes. Even if you're around your husband's exes, you need to leave it at that. You don't go questioning them about their relationship with your husband. She looked stupid as hell while Kandi was sitting there trying to instigate the situation and find out about, if Kandi and Phaedra actually slept with her husband and all the truth came out. It's like, what woman in her right mind would sit there along with her husband's exes and start questioning them? She didn't see that shit coming. I don't know what the hell's wrong with her. Monique needs to grow the hell up. The funny thing is that after everything went down, Monique then turns out her frustration and anger towards Portia. And Portia starts flipping out on her like, okay, how are you going to get mad at me about this situation when I had nothing to do with it? I wasn't messing with your husband. I wasn't screwing your husband. It was them two. I just found it funny that Monique could buck up to Portia, the quiet ditzy one, but then she won't say nothing to Kandi or Phaedra. Because both Kandi and Phaedra done put her in her place several times, so she felt the need to pop off on Portia, and I'm glad that Portia went off on her. I just think that Monique doesn't need to be on the show. She doesn't add anything of value to the show. And like I said before, I also find it really funny that Kandi is also ready to pop off on everybody else on the show and cuss them out and go off. She won't take that same energy and use it to, put Mama Joyce in her place. So I just find the whole situation just comical. So anyways, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this week's episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. I'm @LovelyT. All right. Deuces.